on?
Yeah, it's live on my site too.
So if you want to,
Upstreaming. What the heck?
I do not know. It's been a pain in the backside.
Well, Shane has a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay, we're good, guys. It's live on the page.
Okay, not on YouTube.
I'll check YouTube next. I know it's working on Facebook. I'll check in just a second here.
Okay,
I'll share it.
you sharing out. Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of Things Paranormal Talks. We have a new setup because Shane decided to go to the pub with Mrs. Shane, and he's probably drinking himself under the table. That's why I have Lois and Nick. Welcome.
We're good on YouTube. It's live on YouTube too.
Okay, I still haven't got it, but
yeah, but as long as it says live from both sides, we're all set.
Okay.
And I'm sharing out like a mad woman.
Okay. Now we are a bit like the Monday evening. A lot of crap at the beginning, and I think, what the hell are they talking about?
It happens. It's not the first time.
Well, let's me start. We have a special guest. Nick knows him personally, and Willow and myself are very, very excited to have him. He featured on Paranormal Nightshift and a haunting, a travel channel. Besides that, hi Noreen. He's the author of a dozen paranormal-themed books, including Mass Murders, Ghosts of Sleepy Hollow, The Curse of Lizzie Borden, Shock Dogs, many, many, many more. And I'm not going to shout it all out because we want to have something to talk about. Nick, do you want to announce him?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. I mean, not only is it someone that you guys are really excited about and I met personally, but it's also someone that I'm glad to call a good friend of mine. Please welcome, of course, Sam Baltrusis.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
Again, techniques are horrible. But
I hope I said your last name right.
Yeah, you said it right. It was good. Yeah,
okay.
I'm just kind of laughing with all the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I identify.
How you doing though?
How am I doing?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, things are good. I'm literally, this is my only day off. I've been going across the country since I saw you last, Nick. Pretty much nonstop. So this has kind of been my day off. Kind of been relaxing and that sort of thing. So it's actually it's nice to be able to just relax for a day.
Always good to have that break before going on for the next Paracon.
Yeah, so as October is super busy season for me because I wrote Ghosts of Salem, which is still my bestseller. It's what I'm known for. October in Salem is crazy land, but of course, someone that was a tour guide in Salem for many years. I'm gonna go, but I'm just not gonna give tours in Salem just because I think it's just too much, and I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, you know what, I've done it. I'm not gonna do it again. So looking forward to it, but just as a visitor and not a tour guide.
Right.
That's cool. But you wrote also a book of the Headless Horseman. Oh my God, I love that story.
Yeah. So Ghosts of Sleepy Hollow was so much fun to write, and that was my most recent book. And what's interesting is I'm known for Ghosts of Salem, but Sleepy Hollow was sort of a labor of love because I'm also a huge fan of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. And so to be able to go like in October and experience Halloween in Sleepy Hollow versus Salem, it was like night and day. I felt like it was more like rustic. I felt like I was kind of like trapped and kind of like went back in time to the 1800s when I was doing my research and expecting the Headless Horseman to gallop, in the cemetery when I was doing research. It was just so much fun to write that book.
Yeah, and it's all imagination or going into that original story, or did you include also some encounters from people?
Yeah, well, I mean that's what the book is. So the book is it's Ghosts of Sleepy Hollow. So it's basically, of course, Washington Irving's legend was sort of the basis of a lot of the ghost lore. And it was formerly called North Tarrytown, but it's right outside of New York City. But what's interesting is people have experienced the Headless Horseman after the short story came out in the 1800s. So I really went into what thought forms, egregores, the idea that perhaps maybe the Headless Horseman was created by writing the story. People really claim to have seen him and still report seeing the Headless Horseman. I'm like, how is that possible? It was a fictional character. Some say that because it was supposedly based on a real person who lost his head in the Battle of White Plains. So it could be related to that, or it just could be people's imaginations creating a ghost. So I talk a lot about that, egregores, thought forms. I talk about other ghosts that were kind of alluded to. So when they had the Headless Horse, Ichabod Crane was at the holiday party before going to basically encounter the Headless Horseman. There was other ghost stories that were mentioned that were also legends. Some of them were based on actual ghost stories that were tied to I talk about in my book. So some of them were alluded to in the short story. Some of them have been created since then. It was just a fun thing to kind of revisit the story, which is one of my favorite short stories. And I love the Disney cartoon. It's still my favorite cartoon.
Did you ever watch, if you don't mind me asking, did you ever watch the television series they had?
I did, and it was good. I'm kind of more I feel like that I like the Tim Burton movie, and a lot of people don't like that one, but I like that they kind of give the Headless Horseman a backstory. I would say I watched it, but I was more interested in the Tim Burton rendition of it.
Yeah, I love that Tim Burton version too. I think it's I think they did it perfectly for that movie of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, no doubt.
Absolutely. And you had an interesting question as well, Willow.
Yeah, my question to you, Sam, is what inspired you to start writing?
What did I sound like my Willow dictionary? That was what inspired me to start writing? I mean, so I was a journalist for 20 years, and so I would write stories. A lot of the times I would write, like entertainment related stories. So I was really interested in writing profiles and writing since I was younger. The idea of writing a book was not even on. I wanted to write a book, but I didn't think I could have the ability to write a book. But then I pitched my first book, Ghosts of Boston, and I was giving it tours in Boston, and my journalism career was kind of, I wouldn't say it was. It just there was not a lot of jobs with journalism, so I needed to kind of take it to the next level. And so I pitched my first book. I approached it like writing multiple articles, and then that approach worked for me, and I've been doing it ever since. So now it's more. I love the research, and so that part and the writing part can be painful, but it's also fun too. Like Sleepy Hollow was so much fun to write.
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it was like, see, when you wrote, like, what advice would you give to any you authors that wanted to start writing?
So in addition to writing books, I do a class, an online Zoom class called Ghostwriters. So people that want to write about the paranormal, I highly recommend trying. And so I have it's Haunted Travels anthology. So I have a collection of stories, nonfiction paranormal stories written by my class and other people. I would say start with a story first. It's between 1,000 words and 1,500 words, and then and then take that and maybe turn it into a book. So I say just start writing, and then like who knows what's going to happen. So a lot of people that were in haunted travels were also the first time writers. So they wanted to write, they just didn't know how to do it. And I feel like giving them a platform to be able to do that really inspires a lot of people.
Yep.
Cool.
Wow.
Cool.
I definitely
Maybe
agree
Willow,
with
you
that.
can submit to haunted travels anthology. I'm looking for submissions, and I'm looking for international stories too. So hello.
Well,
Thank you
might
very
have
much.
some opportunities right here for you, Sam.
Well, extra work. Oh my God. There are not much haunted stories here in the Netherlands. I think we have 2 white witches and something also in the area of Amsterdam, but I have to really dive in.
Yeah, I mean, so I just read a book on castles, and I know that there's probably a lot of castles in your area too, maybe potentially haunted castles. That's I mean, I'm really fascinated with haunted castles, so maybe that's an idea, just an idea for a
Okay.
short story.
Wow. Then I have to travel to Scotland to
Yeah.
Scotland,
Do-
I heard there's other parts of Europe that have quite the amount of castles. Like I think there's, I don't remember if it was like, I don't know if it was like Germany or it was somewhere up,
Yes,
in Eastern Europe. I think one of the other European countries probably has more castles than the UK does.
I do have to admit, if I jump into my car and I drive for an hour and a half, I'm at the most beautiful castle of Europe, and I've never been there.
Oh, really?
No,
Oh,
I
wow.
was lazy.
The most beautiful castle, and I've never been there.
I've seen so many pictures, so many, and I never been there. I scheduled it 2, 3 times, and the person who was supposed to come with me canceled. And
Oh.
I don't go that far alone. I don't.
So where's the castle?
It's near the airport. Düsseldorf, in the
Oh,
area,
yeah.
and that's 1.5 hours from where I live. I live in Arnhem.
Mm.
And the area is known from a bit bridge too far, and it's 15 minutes from the border. Just 15 minutes. I can
Oh.
walk. I really can walk.
Well, I mean, there's one. I was doing some basic research, and there's one in Oslo too. That but it's like a fortress. So yeah. So I don't know. I may do like a castle tour. So Scotland, Wales, England, Transylvania. You know, I want to do. I do want to kind of travel the globe and look and checking out all these different castles.
I just looked up,
Hey.
actually. I just decided to look up just out of curiosity, like which European country has the most castles. They say Germany's most often cited as having the most,
Oh.
with estimates around 25,000, while Wales has the highest density of castles per square miles. But other countries like Italy, France, Ireland, and the Czech Republic also have a large number of castles, with some sources claiming to be the countries with the most. So there's also a few other additions as well.
Well,
Yes.
that's a really good fun. Like that's good, Nick. Just
And
pull
which,
that out, you know. It's like, and
yeah.
by the way, all these really good facts. But yeah, like, I really do feel that there's a lot going on. A lot of times too with castles, sometimes they'll call them manors. Like in England, they'll call them manors, and in the US, we would refer to them as castles. So really, if something that is fortified, with my book, Haunted Castles in New England, I mean, obviously the castles in the US are nothing in comparison to like Europe and like those castles.
Yeah.
But they do a good job at sort of like recreating the idea of it. And a lot of it's more theatrical. It's almost one of my sources. I interviewed a lot of people, and some of them were from the UK, and they're like, "Okay, so Sam, the castles in the US, they're like it's like a movie set. You know, it's not even like and there's not the history that they have overseas. But I found some interesting fortifications that are in the book, and it was fun doing the research and also kind of like highlighting locations that people are like, oh, I've never been there. Kind of like you, like with a beautiful castle that's an hour and a half away that you haven't visited, and maybe it'll inspire them to visit them if they can. Some of them are such disrepair that I don't recommend visiting them because like you may fall through the roof or something. So we don't want that. We want you to be safe when you investigate. So, but yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of potential locations, and I'm possibly so I want to do New England. I just did my New England book. Maybe do like because New York State oddly has a lot of castles too. So I may do one just on New York State. So we'll see what happens in my future with castles.
Well, Sam, I could give you the offer of a lifetime. I could move to America and you could move to Scotland and you'll have castles surrounding you.
I would love that because like I think that I had a past life. Someone like I've done a lot of past life regression because I'm a medium, but I also work with other mediums as well. And they're like, I see you in a castle, and I'm like, okay. I'm like that. I would love that. Like that's lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they see me in a castle, not of course in the U.S. but overseas. So I do see that in my future as well, and maybe I had that in the past life. But there's something about castles that just really intrigue me. So yeah, we'll switch. We'll do like a
Yay!
like a U.S. switch. I mean, I love New England, so I mean, I definitely the only thing about New England that I don't like is the weather. I mean, it's so cold, and like so. Just to prepare you, Willow, when we switch places.
That's absolutely fine. That's fine.
I told Lois the same. That happens here.
I'm moving to America and switching places with Sam Baltrusis.
I mean, it's like the same thing like with Chicago over here. It's the same exact thing. So, because she's always talked about wanting to move to the U.S., I said, well, if you happen to move over here in Chicago too, you're going to get the same results.
So speaking of Chicago, so I actually I grew up in Florida and Chicago. So that's my background too. I do love Illinois, but the New England, there's something about New England. So if you're going to move to the U.S., move to New England. And don't move to Chicago. No offense.
No, I'm not taking any offense to that.
Jane has a question for Sam. Sam, are you writing some new books?
Yeah, so I finished the Haunted Castles book, and that unfortunately is not going to come out. I wanted it to come out for spooky season for October, but my publisher really loved it, so they're actually going to hold off till next August. So I'm working on a new book on Salem, and I will tell you, like, that book is hard because I've written 2 books already on Salem, and I feel like that I've kind of written everything possible about haunted locations in Salem, but I'm finding that my 3rd book is going to have a totally different approach. It's going to be more about, because I really focused on 1692 and the Salem witch trials in my first 2 books, and this one I want to talk about kind of like Salem today, and sort of becoming an enclave for modern day witches, and which is so weird because like why would you want to go live in a city that hanged 20 innocent people for witchcraft if you're a witch? Like why would you want to move there? And sort of how we celebrate, like everyone wears their little witch hats and and all that, but you're doing that. It's kind of weird because it's in a location where 20 innocent people were executed for being a witch. So it's kind of like that dichotomy always kind of fascinated me. So I'm going to go in that direction, like the modern day Salem, and is it making fun of the horrible tragedy, or is it sort of like reclaiming something and making it their own? And I'm kind of in the side that it's kind of reclaiming space and kind of making it their own. And I do feel like that. It's fun. I mean, I love going there. But I will say, compared to Sleepy Hollow, I felt like giving tours and telling the stories of the 20 innocent people that were accused and executed of witchcraft. I feel like there was a lot of guilt that I felt from that, and like kind of being there and kind of having fun, there in Salem. At Sleepy Hollow, I didn't feel that guilt. I felt like because it was a story and it was a fiction story, I didn't feel as I guess like I felt more Halloween spirit in Sleepy Hollow. So, and I would, even if you do, when you do move over to New England, I would say definitely Salem. Everyone wants to live in Salem, but I say like I wouldn't live in Salem because I just feel like that it's like it literally like it's hundreds of thousands of people crammed into a small area. So if you like that, then yes. But if you
No.
I would say outside of Salem. Yeah, it's just, but it's fun. Like imagine like sort of being surrounded by Halloween, all year round. Like that's what Salem is.
That's from what I've heard. In fact, I actually just had a friend of mine that she and another friend had the interest of wanting to go to Salem. She liked the idea of wanting to come out to Salem for Halloween. And I said, well, it's not a bad idea. Like, it was not a bad idea at all. Thinking to myself, just imagine the crowds are like, I mean, it's not that I was trying to discourage them, but I was like,
yeah,
really want to go to a place where there's going to be like thousands of people, like all crammed into this area. Like, we're going to have a tough time getting around places like throughout Salem if we wanted to.
I'd imagine being a tour guide in that. Like I literally,
oh God,
I had to lead tours of like sometimes up to 50 people, and going to the streets of Salem. I did what I call my back alley tour. So I would take like shortcuts where there weren't a lot of people. Back alleys in Salem, but I still there was like so many people around, and it was kind of a nightmare. The biggest, I will tell you this. So there's an energy in Salem. So when you go, I do recommend going at least one time in October just to experience it. The biggest thing though, there's no bathrooms and there's like no parking. So if you go to Salem in October, literally like either have a hotel room close by or some kind of plan for the bathroom because there really are no bathrooms. There are porta potties, and it's a nightmare. So
that's what I was going to say. There's no porta potties there either.
Yay, Salem! And it's like, oh my gosh, let's go to the bathroom. And then,
that was my question. Like, they don't even have porta potties there, but like, wow.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's like the worst. And imagine giving tours. So I would have to come in and like I take a train so because you can't drive into Salem. Take a train into Salem. Take the train back just to go to the bathroom. And it's like it's that bad.
Oh my God.
Mr. Shane's off to Sleepyland. Bye.
Sweet dreams. Talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, Shane.
Well, we have another comment. Well,
yeah, what's up, Chris?
And this one I like the most.
Yes, I was, Chris. I was on time.
Oh my God. I came across mass murders.
Yeah, so what's interesting about mass murders, I love that book. Well, that sounds kind of macabre, right? That I love mass murders, but so it's actually murders in Massachusetts. So like I took murders that happened. A lot of them were historical murders. One of them was. So you mentioned in the intro, I was on the shock doc called Curse of Lizzie Borden, and it turns out that I'm actually related to Lizzie Borden. And for people that don't know the story of Lizzie Borden, yeah, I'm related to her. Wow. Actually, multiple. Apparently, like my family members, like they married my cousins. So we have a lot of intermarriage going on in my family tree. That we're tied to Lizzie Borden like multiple ways. But anyway, so related to her. But before I knew that, I wrote Mass Murders, and Mass Murders is a big player in that. Of course, are the Borden murders of 1892. Abby Borden and Andrew Borden were killed. Lizzie Borden, who is kind of like an international. Everyone knows who she is for the most part. And the rhyme that Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her father 40 whacks. Although it wasn't 40 whacks, but still, like that nursery rhyme. I remember like hearing that when I was a kid. So it's something that kind of like, still people talk about. So the Borden murders, like I took a really deep dive into the Borden murders. And a lot of people ask me, if you watch the Curse of Lizzie Borden, which I was on. Dave Schrader was the lead of that, and then also Chris Fleming was on the show as well. And it was it to me was life changing to be able to go there. And I also kind of came out of the crystal closet, if you will, as a medium, because I've been. If I do events, if you like, people knew that I was a medium, but I didn't do it publicly. I was more of a historian that talked about locations because I wrote so many books on these locations, and they brought me in as a historian. And I started to channel, and that's I channeled Eliza Borden, and if you watch the shock doc,
Yes.
it really was it was super emotional, and I don't remember it, and it was so weird doing like being there with someone like Dave Schrader and then Chris Fleming next to me, surrounded by greatness, people that I really respect in the paranormal field, and that happened. It was almost kind of embarrassing, but I also feel like that Eliza Borden wanted to tell her story, and so I don't regret it. It just was something that I wasn't planning on doing, and so I do feel that the case, because I'm related to her, I feel really passionate about her, and I feel like there's a lot of especially with there's new owners that own the property in Fall River, and I've investigated that location so many times before the new owners, and so I feel like they're kind of turning it a little bit more like Murder Disneyland, and so I don't like where it's gone, the property, but the story to me is really important because I feel like that it's sort of like the ultimate whodunit. People ask me, do you think she did it? And I will tell you this, based on the facts and going over the case, and I have done so much research, that I really do think she did it. I'm 99% sure that she did. However, as a medium, I've talked to her multiple times, and she doesn't take responsibility for the murders. So I do feel that her spirit or whatever is lingering from that doesn't want to take responsibility for it. And she also mentions other things. And there's other, I guess, players that should be considered, like her uncle, John Morse. And if you know the case, John Morse was, the uncle that was not tied to Abby Borden, but was Lizzie and Emma, her sister's uncle, and was the brother of Lizzie Borden's mother. And so he was someone that kind of mysteriously appeared the day before the murders in 1892, and actually slept in the room where Abby Borden was killed. And so there was something weird about him that it just kind of always rubbed me the wrong way. And if you really dig deeper, when we did the research for Curse of Lizzie Borden, like after kind of like putting the pieces together, John Morse was a butcher. And so, I mean, he had, he was like an apprentice to be a butcher. There's all these things that really would tie him to what happened. And Lizzie Borden was a small framed woman in her 30s. She, and this is something that I've uncovered recently, is that she had her wrist. She was a Sunday school teacher, and she had her wrists in a dumbwaiter that were her wrists were like almost broken about 4 weeks before the murders. So how could she have committed that murder with damaged wrists? So there's still. So I say that I think that based on the evidence, I think that she did it because she was the only. Her and Bridget Sullivan were the two people in the house, but there's a lot of things that are saying, maybe she didn't do it. Maybe there was something else. There was another player like John Morse or another, male, because it was such a savage murder. And a small framed woman with hurt wrists. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that Lizzie did it?
If you look at the footage, there's so much rage in the way they are butchered. And if your wrists are broken, I don't think you even can hack that many times without screaming out.
There's a lot of, and that's why she was acquitted, was because how could a woman commit that savage of a murder? And maybe, maybe because she was, there's some people say she was in a disassociated state, which is possible. Curse of Lizzie Borden, we suggested that maybe she was under the influence of like a spirit or an entity, like she was almost like possessed when it happened. She doesn't take responsibility for it. And I still kind of stand by that because there was something supernatural about what happen. Like it was almost like that Lizzie, the person that I've researched, could not have committed that murder. But maybe if she was under the influence of something else, you know, like a darker, sinister entity that, you know, and I write about this in my books, but I had this recurring dream over and over again that kind of replayed the murders. And this is before I knew that I was related to her. And it scared me so much I didn't want to even go inside the house where the murders took place for many, many years. And so I saw it, and like it was replaying. She was standing there by the couch, and with a father lying on the couch, and behind her was a man who looked very sinister with like a mustache. And there was black and white 35 millimeter in my dream, and the subtitle said "Diablo did it." And I like that just gives me like chills thinking that like there was something else at play, something sinister.
Mm.
You know, that's interesting you put it that way, because I was also going to, yeah, it was kind of hard to say from my perspective, like, you know, if she actually did it or not, but the way how you kind of described it, I find that really interesting. I never honestly would have thought in a million years that may have been someone else. I mean, again, I don't think we're ever going to really truly know, but you know, that is a good likely possibility, just how you described it.
So
Yeah.
I'm actually sitting here blown away by
Yeah.
listening to you, because I am right into my true crime and serial killers and that, and sitting here listening to you, I'm actually blown away. That's why I'm so quiet.
Yeah. I'm like, well, like, why isn't Willow saying anything?
No,
I also did
it's because you've really blown me away, and sitting listening to you, I'm like, oh wow.
Well, when you
Yeah.
mentioned John Morse, I decided
Yeah.
to look him up. Because I felt like, where have I heard that name before involving the Lizzie Borden case? And then when his picture showed up, I knew exactly who you were talking about. I also did find something a little bit strange, like because he has his own Find a Grave page, you know, like where he's buried and whatnot. And I know that he died 20 years after the murders in 1912. And it's kind of, I don't know exactly how far it is. It was kind of at a rather unusual location, because by then when he died, he wasn't living in Massachusetts anymore. He was living in Iowa when he died. And I found that kind of ironic, because I couldn't help but think that just less than 3 months after he died, the Villisca axe murders then occurred in Villisca.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange how you have a relative that was in somewhat not necessarily involved with the murders, but who was related to the family who was murdered, only to move to another state, eventually died, and then a few months afterwards, another axe murder occurs.
That's pretty mad.
It's interesting.
Well, I will
Sam,
say, so the person, and hopefully that this will get to the current owner, but the group that owns the Lizzie Borden house also owns the Villisca axe murder house. And
Oh, wow.
whoa,
I had no
wow.
idea.
yeah, and I
Wow.
will say this. So they've done things like make ornaments. So the Villisca murders actually, you know, like they also turned it into this like almost like a tourism like a trap for
Yeah.
ornaments with like the children that were murdered on these ornaments. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the owner who owns both properties. However, they try to make a tie to the Villisca axe murders and to Lizzie Borden, like almost like was it the same person? But yeah, it's one of those things that I do feel like there's something interesting tying them, but I don't think it's the actual same murderer.
Yeah, there's like no relation to it. It's just
No.
like kind of coincidence. But I do
Yeah.
agree though what you said though, Sam, about like how they're just making these decorations revolve. That is something I don't like either. Because like, for God's sakes, these people's lives were taken so soon,
Yeah.
and you make decorations out of it. That just seems kind of, for the owner to do that, that seems kind of disrespectful in my opinion.
There's a lot of, yeah, there's a
Sorry,
lot of there's a lot of disrespect going on, and that's why I don't necessarily like want to talk about it or support it. However, they're doing a Netflix documentary on Lizzie Borden next year. So they're doing a God, Brian Murphy, the one that does American Horror Story.
Oh yeah, Ryan Murphy.
Monster, you know, he did the Ed Gein story, which hasn't come out yet, and then also Dahmer. He's doing Lizzie Borden for the third one. So I'm actually, because of that, and because I'm related to her, and because it's such a passion of mine, I may be writing a new book. So getting back to the earlier question, am I writing a new book? But that's almost like that. I haven't got my publisher to sign off on it yet, because I haven't really pitched it to them yet. But I do feel like it's something that I want to weigh in on more, because I do have a lot of knowledge and a lot of new, like, stuff that I mean, I have this one woman who was a researcher in Lizzie Borden. She passed away, and, like, oddly, like willed her all her research, and she believed strongly that that Lizzie Borden was innocent. And so I have boxes and boxes of research, like, looking into other possibilities and other scenarios. And I want to honor this woman's, her last name's Curry, J. Curry. And so she did all this research on the side. She was kind of like quiet about it. She did write some papers and stuff on it, but the fact she's done all this research to try to prove it, Lizzie, or Lizbeth, as she likes to be called, innocent, and then pass it on to me, like, randomly. I'm like, that's a sign, you know?
Yeah.
I never met this woman. She just saw me on TV, apparently, and it got, somehow, these boxes of research got to me. So I do feel like I owe it to her and owe it to my distant cousin.
Oh, bless her. Sam, can I ask, how did you find out that you were related to Lizzie Borden? Did you do one of the ancestry DNA sort of things?
Yeah, so I will be honest, like, that's never been, like, the ancestry. I never even thought that would be possible. I grew up in Florida, in Chicago, like I was telling Nick. So I came to New England, not even knowing I had family ties here. So my mother, who's in her 70s, started doing research on my grandfather. So my mother's maiden name is Hughes. And so she was wanting to know where my family came from.
Yeah.
And we always thought that we were, we always thought, to be honest with you, we always thought we were Native American. And so she was trying to find the Native American ties in our family, but then we uncovered this whole other, like, can of worms that we weren't even expecting. So it was through Ancestry.com, and my mother, and I'll tell you, my mother is like the best researcher. I must have got it from my mother, because it was like she has files of research on our family. And in many ways, what's interesting about Lizzie Borden and our family ties to her, there was a player that was uncovered about 15 years ago. Her name is Innocent Cornell Borden. And another interesting person, and it's also featured in my book, Mass Murders. Innocent Cornell Borden was the daughter of Thomas Cornell, who was in the 1600s accused of murdering his mother based on spectral evidence. So the mother, Rebecca Briggs Cornell, was pushed into a fire. Or that's what supposedly happened. But the thing is, she probably just fell into the fire. But the son, Thomas Cornell, was accused and executed for killing his mother. And Innocent Cornell was the child. So this story was kind of like really interesting. I've always kind of been fascinated with it. But it turns out the daughter, Innocent Cornell Borden, had a name change because the mother, Sarah Earle, did not want to be associated with that murder. And so Innocent was named Innocent because her father was innocent, so it was almost like a statement with her name, but her name was Innocent Lake Borden. So we didn't know that. So she was like our missing puzzle piece to our family. So once we found out, and it was common sense, really, that she would be the biological daughter of Thomas Cornell, but apparently it wasn't. When that opened, a whole floodgate of family members opened up. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know what it's like because I have a bookwork out of my ancestry.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
You and my mom should hang out.
It dates back to the 1600s.
Oh, yeah.
And we came from Switzerland and Davos. And I'm royal ancestry. They had an own castle, and in the 1700s. They were Germans, and there I thought, oh my God, now I'm dropping off. But we went further and further. Sweden, Finland, Germany, Austria, so all over Europe, from my mother's side and from my father's side. They were landowners and had slaves, and so interesting, but I think it's okay not to research further.
It's something I've never ever did, is actually research my family history, and it is something I would love to do because, you know, you get all these kind of surprises when
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I've
you're
yet to done
related
that
to
myself.
royalty or
Yeah,
some serial
Well-
killers down the line, you know.
yeah,
Well,
But
I'm just gonna say, as far as ancestry, my dad had recently told me this. I'm not saying that we're directly related to him. Not a serial killer, actually a well-known famous celebrity, you know, who died over 25 years ago. My dad had recently told me that I guess we're very distantly related, believe it or not, to Frank Sinatra. I mean, it's not.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
check
not.
you.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
not much, just like very, very distant, but we kind of are a little bit related to Frank Sinatra.
That
That's
explains a
cool.
lot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
And I listen to his music. I listen to his music a lot. I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge Sinatra fan. So yeah,
I love
yeah.
Sinatra. Ugh, I do. But Sam, definitely, what I realise I've got you on Facebook, so what I'll do is I'll drop you a mail, and if you could send me the names of your books, the Lizzie Borden ones, I would love to sit and read them.
Yeah, so the Mass Murders has a huge chunk of it is tied to the Lizzie Borden case. The book that I would recommend for my family ties is called Related to Evil, and that one really goes into sort of like my personal experiences with the case, and then also other people that were related to, which is kind of shocking, like Eileen Warnos, and also. What we did forensic DNA, we're also tied to Marilyn Monroe as well.
Wow.
Oh,
Holy cow.
That's fairly recent, and like all these people, Eileen Warnes always has kind of creeped me out, to be honest.
Yeah.
She's a serial killer in Florida, because I don't know.
yeah.
Some of these people you may not know, but Marilyn Monroe is kind of like an international icon.
Yeah.
And I've always felt an affinity for her, almost on a spiritual level, and so I definitely. When I found that out, I was just like, I mean, I was almost in tears because it was sort of like well, first of all, she didn't know who her father was, and now the father, Charles Gifford, has been uncovered through forensic DNA, and the Gifford family ties her to our family. So, like our family, including Lizzie Borden. So, kind of like Nick and Sinatra, I'm distantly related to her, but still, the idea that she's a family, like she now has family. You know, she has people that, and she always wanted to know who her father was, and now she knows in the afterlife.
Wow.
We have something in common now, Sam. That we have kind of these distant relatives who are like big celebrities back in the day. That's pretty awesome.
Wow. Those are key pies.
See, there is a silver lining.
And we also have we actually have one other again, it's a more distant relative. This was an actor. He passed away, I think, over a decade ago. You guys know who Dennis Farina was? He was
yes,
like in,
the man for the Unsolved.
He was like in the 80s, like kind of murder horror serial killer film Manhunter. That was like before Anthony Hopkins took over as Hannibal Lecter. It was like, but he also was a police detective.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I know when you said that. Yeah.
He also was a police detective in Law and Order for a couple years. So when he passed away, my dad revealed to him that we were also kind of a distant relative to him as well.
Cool. I don't have family that are that famous.
you have ties to royalty, Mary. Like that's
cool. That's right. We have our own mansion. And what more do I want?
Actually, just one more thing about Lizzie Borden, because again, the curiosity got the best of me. So, like when again, this goes back to what we were saying about John Morse. I found out where he actually died. He died in Hastings, Iowa, in March of 1912. I just decided to look up, saying, "Well, how far is that from like Villisca?" Just out of curiosity. Hastings, that's only about a half hour away from Villisca, 30 miles away.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I actually never really looked beyond. Like that's interesting that you brought that up. So that's another thing that like, wait, John Morse really needs to be looked at again. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm glad I did.
that's definitely sus. You know, like I have like high like that's really weird.
Yeah,
But
it's just
if,
Hastings is just 30 miles east of
yeah,
Villisca, so it's like northeast.
But he
to
died
Villisca.
like how many years before the Villisca murders?
That was obviously Bourne murders was 1892. Villisca was 1912, so a good 20 years in between. And like I said, John Morse died 3 months before the Villisca, because he died in March 1st of 1912. The Villisca axe murders didn't occur until June 18th of 1912.
All right, so this is a totally crazy theory, and I hope that hopefully
well,
no one will see this. But so I'm a believer that there was like a possession of some sorts. So like what if John Morris sort of was brought the possession to Iowa? I don't know. I'm just saying, putting it
Yeah.
out there.
yeah,
Because almost like a host that I do feel like that you know there was something supernatural potentially going on. And in fact, we did a whole, fairly, to me, a really powerful investigation that did, support that, validate that. But the idea that maybe there was something else at play that was somehow brought to Iowa, I don't know. So I'm actually like that. This is a whole other, like this could go in my next book.
Yep.
So
Well,
Yeah.
even
it
the
opens up
last
a
name.
can of worms, because it's really interesting.
Well, and to
And
add more to it, even the last names are familiar, because John Morse was his last name. The family that was murdered, they were called the Moore family, so
Yeah.
almost similar naming. And
Yeah.
I got the date wrong. It was somewhere between June 9th to 10th of 1912. Excuse me.
June 10th.
June 10th. Yeah, early morning of June. It was during the night of June 9th to the early morning of June 10th. So
Yeah.
yes.
And not to give so just to kind of get back to like what I was saying, what I don't want to do is give the current owner that owns both properties like
Right.
actual oh yes, it is tied, because they are trying to tie the two murders together.
Yeah.
However, I do find that there are similarities. I do, and so there's something that did always tie those two together to me. But I also think you should not, sensationalize in any way or make money off of the trauma.
No,
No, not at all.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on that one. What I was actually sitting here thinking was sometimes what you get is copycat killers.
Yes.
So they
Yeah.
may be. I'm thinking maybe somebody has been following Lizzie Borden's story, or and that's the sort of way. But at the same time, I'm fascinated with listening, Sam. That's why I've been so quiet. Usually I'm dead loud, but I've been so quiet tonight because I've sat here and I've listened, and I find you really, really enchanting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is. I mean, this is the stuff because I love. I mean, I love it. I mean, I'm interested in it. Like, loving is not the right word.
Uh,
I'm very interested in this stuff. Like, and I think that that's why I write books, because I really want to. I love doing the deep dive into the weird synchronicities. Because I do find certain things like really fascinating. Like that he moved to Iowa. Like that's I really haven't done a deep dive in John Morse, and I should.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I focused just on John Morse at that time, but the more and more I uncover, the more and more makes me question him. Like, for example, John Morse, the night of the murders, he came in the day before. He goes in the morning before the murders took place, and he ended up having an alibi that was really a solid alibi. Like he was had every step of the way he remembered. and said, "Oh, I talked to the Reverend like on the street, and I saw this trolley at 8:14 or whatever the
Yep.
time was." And then he went and actually talked to other family members as well. So I feel like that his alibi was too firm and almost suspicious.
Yeah.
That was we need to look at him again. Also, after the murders took place, he comes back to the crime scene, sleeps in the bed right next to where Abby Borden was murdered. And so he slept in the room. They call it the John Morse room, and that's because.
Oh.
And isn't that weird? Like a murder just took place in that room. I would not want to sleep in that room.
Yeah.
And that's just weird. And
for 2 reasons, I won't sleep there, because there was a murder and the scent.
Yeah.
Because all the blood. Oh my God, that scent! It makes
Guys, I'm sorry
to the stomach.
Sorry, Mary, I don't mean to cut you off. Unfortunately, I gotta run early. But I just want to say real quick, Sam, it was great chatting with you again.
You too, Nick. Good to see you.
If I wasn't in such a rush, I would have wanted to continue this conversation. But I'm hoping we can get you back. Like we could talk again real soon and talk more about this, because there's so much more to talk regarding this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like your nuggets of information like on the fly.
there was more I wanted to actually say, like regards to it, to maybe add more to it. But like I said, I got to run. But again, Sam, it was great seeing you. Yeah, Mary, Lois, if you guys want to continue, go right ahead. But I'll see you guys. We'll talk again real soon, Sam. And yeah, Mary, Lois, we'll talk.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so John should be suspicious. Like, definitely have suspicions for John. And again, like when I had that dream, that to me was very profound. I feel like that the guy standing behind her, if you look at the picture of John Morse, looks like the guy in my dream, and never even so like that to me is like I feel like that I do feel like that he did, and it was almost like he was a puppet master. So she was the one holding the hatchet in the dream, and the person behind her was sinister looking. And if you like the photos of John Morse, like just he looks crazy. He looks like a serial killer. If you look him up, so
he is guilty. Yeah, but if he was possessed by something sinister and he moves away and dies, that demonic possession, that demonic entity moves on and has 3 months to possess someone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's very far-fetched, but you know what? We deal with this stuff all the time, so it's not, I guess, that far-fetched. And someone that that I do feel like serendipitous stuff happens, and I feel like that him pointing out like, why would he move to Iowa? Like that's just weird. And then the Villisca axe murders, and also that there's so many weird ties even today with Villisca and the Borden murders, and so I just. There's something there, and it's almost on the surface, and I'm just gonna keep digging and digging until I find something.
Oh well, Sam, I'm your friend, so just you tell me everything. Don't you worry.
You just want to be friends because you want to swap.
Oh, that's it. We've swapped. You love serial killers. You know, it's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I laugh, Sam, every time you say you try to change it for love to like. I say I love serial killers, right? And people will think, well, like you're weird. But I'm like that. But I have a passion for it, and they'll go, "Are you a serial killer?" And I'm like, "No, I just have an interest." And the whole.
Yeah, so you're not alone. I feel like that. So my mother also. I mean, if you look at sort of our family lineage, so I asked my mother, I'm like, Mom, like, what if you could turn back? She was like she was like medical billing, so she wasn't like I'm like, if you could turn back time, what would you be in your life? Like, what would you want to be? And she's like, oh, a crime scene investigator. And I'm like, really? You want to be a crime scene investigator? Like of all things you could have potentially have done, you wanted to be a crime scene investigator. So yeah, my mother's like that too. So, and I also feel like that people like in my family line are almost, there's been a lot of people that are into that as well. Like I have another friend who is like she's a crime like she focuses on crimes, like she does that for her job, and she also is related to us too. So a lot of people that are tied to my family line are also fascinated to with serial killers and crimes and why they do it and like what's the motivation. They
Yeah.
the In our family lineage, there's someone that actually did brain scans on the descendants or people that were related to Lizzie Borden, and it's weird because our brain scans are different, and it's almost like a and I haven't done the brain scan to see if my brain scans differently, but we think differently. And some people, of course, did some horrible things, but the other people have turned it into almost like a turned it into a positive, and so I,
Yeah.
that's maybe you're related to us too, Willow. Maybe you're part of
Maybe. You
the
never know. How funny would that be? I'll be phoning you up. Sam, we're related.
yeah. I'm moving to New England. I'm a Borden too.
No, but that is, hey, you just never know. See, when you do these ancestry things, you just never know what they're going to drag up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I never would have thought that I was related to Lizzie Borden, Marilyn Monroe, Eileen Wuornos, all these people that I I felt a connection to, but just never really thought that we would be related. Another person, that family that we're related to, are the Putnam family, who were accusers in the Salem witch trials. So another layer, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're related to everybody." I'm like, "No, I'm actually not. Like, it's actually people that I don't want to be related to. Like I don't want to be related to killers, but I do feel like there's a reason why I found this out at this time of my life, and I do believe in like post mortem, like helping their like soul relief, whatever I can do to maybe exonerate them. And what's interesting about the family line also, they're all women, and even Marilyn Monroe, like there was a lot of controversy with Marilyn. Was she
Yeah.
murdered? Like there's a lot of conspiracy associated with Marilyn and her
Yeah.
death. And so I feel like even with her, there's unfinished business, and she was almost like all these women were almost like controlled by the patriarchy and by men who controlled their narrative, including Lizzie Borden. It's almost like men controlled these women, and maybe like they didn't have a voice at the time to be able to defend themselves, and I wanted to give them a voice and say, like, you know what, Lizzie didn't kill her father and her stepmother. She's innocent, and if I can do that, that to me, like that would be
Yeah.
amazing. And so I mean, I don't think I can, but I can try.
Well, it makes me think of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they renamed him now by doing research. This guy had the scarf and he did DNA testing and they found some blood
Yeah.
and some uh, samples with a sickness. And one of the victims had that sickness, but they found also sperm cells. And
Mm.
that's how they found out who is Jack the Ripper. So maybe it's the same thing what can be done for Lizzie Borden, looking at the crime scene again, see if there are any new evidence with new looks.
Yeah, so the forensic DNA is actually really interesting to me because like when they found Marilyn Monroe and her biological father, it was done through like that kind of similar what you were talking about with Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
And so forensic DNA can also find people that don't know who their biological family members are,
yeah,
and they found it out through using so Charles Gifford's granddaughter offered to match her DNA with Norma Jean or Marilyn Monroe to see if they were family, and they were. So it tied her to found her biological father using DNA technology.
yeah,
So yeah, like you're right. There's a lot of advancements in forensic DNA. Even there's a case in mass murders the Lady of the Dunes. And this is an unsolved case since I've been in Massachusetts since the 90s. And case that I always wanted to solve. And the Lady of the Dunes was a woman who was murdered in the 1970s. And she was found on the beach, and they never found her murderer or who she was, and they just called her the Lady of the Dunes. And so I've encountered her spirit over the years. I've been written about her, and after using that forensic DNA technology, they were actually able to find who she was. Her name is Mary Terry. Not Mary Terry. Terry. And so they found her name, and then they found her through her son, actually, and they found the person that murdered her was her husband. And so yeah, I do feel like that there's a lot of technology that's amazing that can uncover these things. So you're right. I still have hope.
Yeah, we lost Willow as well.
No, like, where's Willow? She's probably on a plane heading to Salem.
Probably, or your place, because she wanted to swap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam said he's gonna swap, but anyway. So, Mary, are we getting toward the end of the show? Because I know you said an hour, right?
Yes, we are doing a sequel.
Oh, a sequel. Yes, we'll do a sequel.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. After the busy season, and Nick can be on again, and he has tons of questions.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, Nick. It's interesting because I've never been on Nick's show. So, like, but I talked to him before. So it's a sort of like, it's interesting that he comes up with all these facts on the fly. I'm like, oh, that's good research. So he's a really good researcher. So I like that.
Yes. So let's do that, a sequel, and we talk about Lizzie Borden more.
Sure.
And maybe another case in which we can brainstorm who's done it. And Willow is back just to say hi. And she's gone again. Let me see. Where did you go, girl?
My internet died out, so I'm through in your next to my box.
Yeah.
I was like, you hopped on a plane and headed to New England.
Do you know what it was, Sam? That's what it was, because I heard so much of you. I was like, oh my God, I need to go and pack my bags. I need to find this man.
That's so funny. But it was really good talking to both of you and to Nick too, of course. But we're going to do a sequel, Willow. So we're going to focus just on Lizzie Borden the next time.
That would be awesome. I'm well up for that.
Okay, we'll get your serial killer, fix on the next show. But
yeah, absolutely. It was a blast to have you, and I want to thank everyone.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Yes, and see you next week. On Wednesday, we have a debunker, and he's called Beardo. And Beardo gets scared, and he's on YouTube and TikTok and everywhere. So, see you all next week. Thank you all for watching and being quiet and listen to Sam. And have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.